Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Let's Mosley podcast. I
Hello.
believe this is episode 79.
Yes.
79. All right. Wow, that's crazy. 79 episodes. All right. So today we're doing things a little bit differently. Normally we would do Am I the Asshole? Or I think we're going to be branching out into some Am I Overreacting?
Yeah.
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 But today I thought it would be really interesting to talk about the 8 types of wellness. It's one of those things that I think that you kind of innately know if you are somebody that's keyed into health and wellness, but to actually have it in front of you, it's like, oh, I never really thought about putting all of these 8 things together into one comprehensive view of wellness. So I thought it would be interesting for us to talk about it, kind of what our journeys have been with these different types of wellness, if we have any advice or any experiences in different types. So I think kicking it right off, perhaps we should just tell them what they are, maybe.
Yeah.
We didn't really discuss how we were going to do this. We just decided we were going to.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Go ahead and read it off.
all right, sounds good. So, we have emotional wellness, financial wellness, social wellness, spiritual wellness, occupational wellness, physical wellness, intellectual wellness, and environmental wellness.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. Yeah. But, I can see how they are all important in like this comprehensive view of being a well-rounded person.
A well-adjusted person. Yeah.
I think we're going to say well a lot during this podcast. But anyways, I don't know. I think my largest testimony has been my emotional wellness journey, and I don't want to speak for you too much, but I think yours has been physical perhaps. Not saying that others aren't important, because looking at this list, I can see how other things on this list have been very important to your journey. Um, yeah.
I mean,
I think that your physical journey had
the physical
given you an
journey
opportunity to
was
work
the
on some
was the
other
catalyst.
journeys.
The physical journey was the catalyst. Or the physical wellness was the catalyst that kind of branched out to these other 7.
Would you say that your physical wellness granted you accountability more so?
I think what granted me accountability was being able to, I guess, keep that promise to myself when I told myself that I wanted to get healthier.
That makes
You know,
sense.
there's a lot of self integrity that goes into that, and you know how I'm about keeping my word. So, I think once I saw that I was able to do this, it was possible. It was happening. It was real. That kind of just, I guess, opened the floodgate to my mind that I could improve on these other areas of my life as well too. Emotional, mental, um, you know, everything that's on here, social, financially, environmentally, all that. So kind of just, like I said, I feel like it was just a catalyst to kind of just open up this path to these other ones. And then I kind of feel like it's like that with a lot of people, honestly. Like I feel like each person probably has like their own category here where
That category could be the
that
catalyst
could be the catalyst for
for
them
them
to
to work on other
other stuff.
categories
Yeah.
and say, hey, maybe I'm not so happy here, or I want to change this,
Yeah.
because they had the courage to work on that one type of wellness first that kind of fit into
Yeah, I
what
mean,
they
and
needed in that
I guess it
moment.
really just depends on like what they want to work on. At the time I wanted to work on my physical health. I wasn't happy with my weight. I wasn't happy with the way I looked, about myself, my self-image.
I think it's important, real quick, to just kind of define, since we're talking about physical right now. So
Yeah.
they're defining physical health as recognizing the need for physical activity, diet, sleep, and nutrition.
So that is that encompasses so much. That's one of my biggest priorities is, making sure all that's checked. With the activity, the diet, the nutrition, the sleep.
Sleep's so
It's so
important.
important. Yeah.
We used to get not the best sleep. We within the past year got a new bed, which was really nice for
Yeah.
both of us to have just that space. But we're both getting, for the most part, 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night,
Hmm.
and that's just been such a game changer for a lot of different things throughout the day.
Yeah.
It feels really good to not lay awake all night and
Yeah.
just be restless, and yeah, better sleep definitely can attest to how important that is.
What do you feel like was your catalyst?
For me, I definitely worked on my emotional health first, but you know, environmental health also was really important. And let me just read these definitions real quick. So
We'll put up
emotional,
something for you guys to see it as well too, because it's yeah.
yeah. So emotional health is coping effectively with life and creating satisfying relationships, which kind of for me on my journey went in tandem with environmental, which is good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support well-being. So in my
Mm,
journey when I was working through my first experiences with depression and anxiety, I was also getting myself out of the bar scene and smoky rooms and a lot of drinking. And, there's a time and a place, I guess, if.
yeah.
But for me, I needed to get out of that because it was a consistent environment for me. You know, serving is a great way to make money, but the food industry, maybe not the best environment for me to have been in
Yeah.
that time. And if you're a server, if you work food industry, chef, anything like that, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I I probably worked on those two in tandem, and the most was kind of the catalyst. But yeah, so intellectual wellness, recognizing creative abilities and finding ways to expand knowledge and skills. I can see where that's important, where it's like on the hierarchy of needs, it's not as important as finding food and shelter, but I could see how a person would need that to be fully satisfied.
Right.
Occupational, personal satisfaction and enrichment derived from one's work. So again, on the hierarchy, like you need a paycheck, you need to be able to provide, and sometimes you just have to do a job you don't want to do, but it's nice and it's good for you to work a job that you enjoy with people that you enjoy, that you find mentally
I feel
stimulating.
like though with occupational wellness that's an area that a lot of people struggle with because a lot of people are working jobs that they don't like, but they have to work.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm just saying that because it's it says personal satisfaction and enrichment derived from one's work. So
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's why I have made the comment about like, you need to work, but it's nice if you can enjoy your work,
right,
acknowledging that there are so many people that don't enjoy their jobs
right,
or have to work. I was just watching something from somebody that works three jobs, which is
a lot.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy that not crazy of her, but just it's really it's unfortunate.
yeah, and I feel like a lot of people struggle with their environmental wellness as well too. When it comes to
Because you can't necessarily get out of your environment depending on the situation at times.
yeah, it can be really tough, and someone's trying
Not saying
to
you can't, but it would be really tough.
yeah, and if you're trying to work on your health overall, your environment plays a really big role. The people that live with you, and things like that can really play a big part and make a big impact on whether or not you're successful with it. If you're trying to, better your eating habits and get more sleep and exercise, but you have someone at home who is pretty much sabotaging you, or not supporting you in the way that you need, it just makes it 10 times harder. And, you're more likely to, I'm not going to say fail, but you're more likely to continue to make mistakes and take steps backwards, with your journey and the progress that you want to make. So the environmental wellness is a really, really big one, I feel like, when it comes to just kind of this encompassing thing that we're talking about right now.
And that could kind of tie in with another one, which is financial satisfaction with current and future financial situations.
Mm-hmm.
Finances and environment definitely
Yeah.
go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not financially able to leave or financially supported to leave your environment,
I mean, it's just like
it's going to be a
that
lot more
lady I told you
difficult.
about that I talked to yesterday, where she's just in a bad spot, and there's no light for her. She doesn't see the light at the end of the tunnel because she financially, she just can't support herself, so she just feels stuck. But her environment is one of just really toxic. It's just really toxic. So she's kind of stuck. But financial wellness plays a really big role as well too. I feel like honestly, like all these like are impactful in some way, shape, or form. Really, it really just depends on which one is kind of resonating with you
Or
in the
few,
moment, or few.
really,
Yeah,
because they
really.
do go hand in hand. And then, social, developing a sense of connection, belonging, and a well developed support system. I mean, that is so important. And we've had our own journey with friendships throughout the years.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say that we are currently in a place in our personal life where I really love our friend group. I'm so proud of our friends, and I just really feel the love when we are with our friends. And yeah, wow, it makes such a difference.
Mm-hmm.
It makes such a difference in, I don't know, even just your self-esteem, because you've got these people that you love and they love you, and it feels good
Yeah.
to love and to be loved. um we talk about moving sometimes, and the hardest part of moving for me isn't going to be, the environmental or the physical or even the like emotional. I'll be okay, but it's, man, leaving those social connections.
Mm-hmm.
They're so deep, they're so rooted. It's yeah, it definitely makes up part of who you are, whether you honestly have good or bad social connections.
Yeah.
They say that you are most like the top 5 people that you spend time with. If you want to see your future, look at those around you,
Yeah, that's true.
so that in that way, the social plays into the financial,
Mm-hmm.
could play into the intellectual. When I owned an art gallery, what was that, 10 years ago? I did it with some friends that we all had this, this connection intellectually, where we had these different creative abilities that we wanted to explore together. So we opened an art gallery, so being able to tap into that intellectual wellness was born from the social wellness from having that group of friends.
Yeah.
And then the last one, and perhaps one of the most important, depending on who you're talking to, is spiritual wellness, expanding our sense of purpose and meaning in life.
Yeah, it's a good one. I kind of feel like that kind of ties into occupational a little bit as well too. Just a little
Oh,
bit.
how so? I'm so curious to know
Well,
where you see that connection.
let's see. So expanding our sense of purpose and meaning in life, and then personal satisfaction and enrichment derived from one's work. So,
Okay,
I get a
if
lot
your
of
work was spiritual in nature, you mean?
yeah, the
Or like in
spiritual
helping
or is it
people?
purpose? Like what I do
Okay.
now. Like my purpose is to help people. My purpose is to help people improve their lives, change their lives. That's what that's my role on this earth. I've always had a passion of helping people. I used to really love working on computers, which kind of got me into the IT industry. I was working with computers and I was helping people at the same time. It's like, what more could you ask for? But when I was
But
able
you
to,
fixed one too many printers.
I fixed one. Wait,
Oh no, he kind
I'm
of
not going on a
adjusted.
tangent or
All
anything.
right, cool, cool, cool. See if I can poke the bear a little bit.
my my shift, my focus shifted. I still wanted to help people, but I wanted to make more of an impact rather than fixing someone's computer.
And not to cut you off, but to full circle, I think that shift happened when you started working on your physical wellness and you said, "Oh my God, I feel so much
Yeah,
better.
I mean, yeah,
I can
I
help
started
other
feeling
people
better.
feel better."
Yeah, I started feeling better. I mean, average Joe Schmo. You guys know my background. Don't have a nutritional background. Parents never taught me how to eat properly. None of that stuff. So all that was foreign to
Self-taught.
me. All self-taught. Um, so when I was able to change my life around for the better and improve in all these areas that I wanted to improve on, because it just trickled down into the other wellnesses. It trickled down into my social life and my relationships and my work, my work life and my work ethic and all that good stuff. So it was a really good thing. I was
It,
able to do that, and I'm like, okay, I can help other people do this as well too. Like this is my calling, is to be able to help someone be able to see that they are capable of changing their life as well too. Like you're not stuck. You're never stuck unless you give up. There's always a path forward, some way, shape, or form. What were you about to say?
oh, I was just seeing another connection for you where your physical wellness tied into your occupational. When you began working out, you started taking your lunch break you would spend working
Working
out
out, yeah.
with work people. So there you've got occupational, social, and physical, and really environmental, because that creates a good environment at work then for you
Yeah.
altogether. And it's, I think that you could take not any situation, but most situations and say, oh, wow, this actually ties into all of these. I can see how this is like this. It's comprehensive. It's kind of everything.
Never really looked at it that way either until, we started talking about this today. But it's cool how, I guess, subconsciously that you can do that. You are kind of, I mean, you're in control of your own destiny, right? So
So, what advice would you have? Because I can kind of think of some, but I'm interested for what you are thinking as well. What advice would you have
mhm.
for somebody that wants to begin to work on any of these aspects of wellness? Would you say, kind of prioritize what's the most important, or maybe try to just make small changes in tandem to everything since it is so interconnected?
I'm like thinking about it with my IT brain right now, or my
Aha!
troubleshooting brain, I should say, because yeah. I would probably identify your the where you struggle at the most. Out of the 8 of these wellnesses, which one is your weak point? Which one do you struggle with the most? Once you're able to identify that, then you can start working towards improving that. You know, with anything when you're changing about yourself, you need to start as small as humanly possible. So for example, if it is, I'm just going to use physical because it's probably the easiest one for me to use as an example. But if you want to start working out and improve your health and lose weight and things like that, you need to identify where your barriers are. What is stopping you from being able to be successful in this area? Is it you don't have time to go to the gym? Is it you don't know what to eat? Is it you don't have the support at home or something like that? You need to figure out what that is first. And once you identify that, then you can start taking the steps towards improving that or making a game plan, and following through with that. If you're not used to working out, if you don't have time to work out a lot, 10 minutes, 15 minutes is better than not doing anything at all. You could start doing that. And then as it becomes part of your routine, part of your lifestyle, you can find ways to build on top of that. I actually tell my clients that all the time when it comes to making any sort of change is to start small. Once you have a foundation in place, a strong foundation, then you can just easily build and start to expand from there without it like crumbling down, like when life happens, because life is going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to throw stuff your way, stress your way, all that jazz. So the more prepared you are and the stronger foundation that you have, the more likely you are to succeed and not just keep getting stuck in this cycle of repeating the same thing over and over again.
We got a little bit of habit coaching there, folks. Yeah, free of charge.
What would you say for someone who wants to improve like their emotional and that spiritual side of the wellness, and they don't know where to start for that?
I almost think that if you wanted to improve emotional and you said spiritual,
Yeah.
I almost think that if you want to improve on your emotional and spiritual health, that you need to have a general awareness of that first of all, that those are the what you want to change.
Mm-hmm.
But then I almost think that you need to take a look at your environmental and your social wellness. I really think that your environment and the group of people that you're around affects your mental health and influences your spiritual wellness. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an IT brain, so and I'm not trained in habit training like Skylar is. So I think that my approach isn't going to be as take this step, this step, this
It
step,
doesn't
this
need to
step.
be that, but
But yeah,
different perspective.
and for me, it kind of comes down to just common sense. You want to work on your emotional wellness
Yeah.
and, coping effectively with life and creating satisfying relationships. Well, first you need to feel good. And one of the first things to feeling good is being in an environment that makes you feel good. So if you've got, a bunch of food wrappers laying around, or if you've got an animal and you haven't changed their pee pads or their litter pads, or if you've got a bunch of dishes that have been piling up in the sink, even if there's something going on that is preventing you from being able to take care of all of this at once, just being able to chip away at it for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, slowly creating the environment that you deserve will lend to you feeling just lighter and better.
Yeah.
And that can, lead to a better emotional wellness, or, a better spiritual wellness. I have my own beliefs and practices when it comes to spirituality, and I kind of want to be in a nice space when I do that. I don't want to be beside the pizza box from last week.
Yeah.
It's distracting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did not necessarily know when we started this podcast that this was going to be my outlook towards the end, but I kind of think that you need to work on a few at a time depending on what it is that you are going after. Like, for example, if you were looking at your financial and your occupational wellness because you're solid in who you are as a person, you've got an exercise routine down that works for you, and you are a physically healthy person, but maybe you've had to work a job for the last 20 years to support your family that you really hate. You've done what you need to do. The people that you took care of are going to be okay. They're set, whatever. And now you get to focus on that. Perhaps you need to, when looking at the financial and the occupational wellness, you also need to look at the intellectual. Are there any creative abilities or skills that you have that you could utilize to better your financial or your occupational situation?
Yeah.
And that's what I mean when I say I really, looking at this now, see how it's so comprehensive.
That's why it's like that too. Like when you guys see it, like everything's kind of like merged together. Because I feel like you can't have one without the other.
Yeah,
like...
most of these models just had the circles on their own, and they didn't have these definitions. So this is what the fine print you'll see. This is adapted from Swarbrick M in 2006, a wellness approach psychiatric rehabilitation journal. So it's legit. But the other models did not show all of these definitions. So that's why I chose for us to look at this one while we were talking about it.
I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
And I have this question because of the podcast that I was listening to earlier. I want to know your guys' thoughts on it.
This is blind. I didn't listen to the podcast.
I actually might want to talk about the podcast, maybe in the next episode or whatever, whenever we do this again. Is happiness a choice?
To a certain extent.
What's your version of that? Like, to a certain extent, what do you mean?
I think about people that are in situations that they didn't ask for, especially victims of pretty much victims.
Right.
And I could see in those situations how it's really condescending to say happiness is a choice. But compartmentalizing that and putting it to the side for a moment, for a person that isn't victimized by anything, I'm trying to figure out my words as I'm talking right now, for your average person that has the ability to make changes to their environment, their financial situation, to their physical health, then I do believe in a way that happiness is a choice. Because you're, for whatever reason, not doing that hard work to get to the other side. But I also am a pretty empathetic person. So I could see and understand where someone could feel like it's not a choice. I don't know. I kind of really muddled over that answer there.
And no, your answer is your answer.
Yeah, you caught me off guard a little bit.
Well, that's going to happen a lot on this
I guess what
podcast.
I'm trying to say is that it's easy to sit here and all of the wonderful transformations that you and I have made over the past few years and say, yeah, happiness is a choice. I chose to be, to change. But I can remember being in those spaces before
Hmm.
and really, really feeling lost and hopeless. And it's definitely not something that changes overnight. It's definitely a step by step sort of. I don't know what.
No, I mean the podcast that I listen to, and I mean and that's your perspective on that question, But
And my perspective is so subject to change because that really caught me off guard. I don't
but
even, honestly, I'm not very satisfied with my
it's
answer.
okay, it's fine. Um, but I believe is this guy's name is Stephen. Hold on, give me a second. Let's see, I just don't want to make sure I don't mess his name up. What episode is this? I it's scrolling past his name. I can't get it right now. Anyways, the podcast is The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett, right? And a he had a guest on. He had a guest on, and they were talking about happiness and whether it's a choice or not. And the guest that he had on the show, and I'm paraphrasing. I'm not going to get everything right here. But essentially this guy ended up, he was really wealthy by the time he was 29 or something like that. Worked for Google, was the VP of I don't know what department, but I mean the man was living his life. He had everything that we would want, and he was clinically depressed. He had two kids with his wife, and his son was actually a really big inspiration for him with overcoming that. He said his son was always just always happy, very very intelligent for his age. Very very thoughtful, and he really looked up to his son. Like he said on the podcast, when he gets older, he wants to be like his son. Um, and his son ended up passing away. I think it was 2014. He needed appendix surgery, and they completely botched it, and he ended up losing his life. And rather than kind of fall into despair and depression and everything that something dramatic like that happening that does to a person, he wanted to take his son's message pretty much and kind of spread it across the world. Um, he said, like, when you're mad, if you're not happy, really think about it. Like, what's causing you to not be happy, and then ask yourself, what can I do? Can I do something about this? Can I do something to change the situation? Can I do something to change what is not making me happy? And then the third thing is to pretty much just do it. So, I may not be getting my point across really, really well, but it was just an interesting podcast episode to
I feel
listen
like
to.
he set me up asking me before he explained this.
No, I was
A
just
little
curious.
bit.
Well, I wanted to know your genuine thoughts on it before I go ahead and share. In my defense, I sent her this podcast to listen to earlier today when I was at the gym.
Well, I was cleaning.
You could have listened to it while you're cleaning.
Okay.
But anyways, it was just
It kind of
interesting.
reminds me of the idea of this book that I was trying to grab, Furiously Happy. A funny book about horrible things by Jenny Lawson. It's kind of the same idea. She was just like, F this, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah, I mean, stuff happens, and
Yeah.
it sometimes it's really traumatic. Sometimes it could be really small, you know. But at the end of the day, for most people, you have the decision to decide if you want to stay mad, to decide if you don't want to do anything about the thing that's causing you to be upset or mad, or you can decide to do something about it and just be happy. I don't know. I don't know. But that was just interesting
Just
because
be happy.
just be happy. Well, people walk around miserable all the time because they choose to be miserable. Like we could be perfectly fine. Everything's going okay.
I think a lot of this ties back into environmental
Yeah. Well, I mean,
wellness.
it all connects in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But I think what I want to do, I do want to talk about this more. I'm going to listen to it again and get some good talking points
And
on it.
maybe I'll listen to it, and then we'll be on the
Maybe,
same page.
maybe. And yeah, I would love to have the discussion because everyone's going to have a different opinion on that. Some people are going to obviously agree that, you know, happiness is a choice, and other people are going to say, no, that's BS. Like,
It is a good conversation
yeah.
starter.
So
And
I'm just interested because, you know, I'm leaning towards that for the most part, that happiness is a choice. You know, you can choose to be happy or you can choose to not be happy at the end of the day. You know, it's really up to you on having that outlook. But yeah, so yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll
Okay.
a little more research on that.
Alrighty.
But I think that is all we had today. Do you have anything else?
No, yeah, we talked about what we wanted to talk about.
Cool. You have any closing notes, any closing thoughts? Sorry, did I catch you off guard there?
A little bit. Just if you want to work on this stuff, I believe that you need to do kind of a mix of what Skylar and I suggested, where you make a plan, kind of pinpoint what you need to pinpoint, but then also I think that you need to look at the other areas of wellness that kind of tie into what it is that you want to work on, and just make very, very small, slow, sustainable changes.
Very small.
Very small.
Like if you think small, think smaller. Whatever you think is small, think smaller than that. And then do that over time.
And just gradually add things.
Yeah, and just gradually add things, you know, so that you don't overwhelm yourself and give up. So, but yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next episode where we'll talk about No, I'm just joking. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow if you're not. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode. With that being said,
Let's Mosley.